are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Keith.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast, where we help you dad better. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. And Kid, what's going on?
Not much. Glad to be back with the DRP. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So today we're going to be talking about if at first you don't succeed, try again. So today we're talking about persistence. Kid, you want to start us off?
I started thinking about that. I think it's Aaliyah's song. At first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again.
Yeah.
Man, Aaliyah was great.
Yeah.
You know, Aaliyah was the first superstar that like died, and it really hurt me, man. Really hurt me.
Yeah.
So that song really sticks out in my head. But it's true, man. It's like really when you are going and you trying to succeed and you fall down to the dirt, you got to get back up and you just got to dust yourself off, man, and go back at it. I learned a lot of that. Playing football. I grew up, I played football like one year when I was like 5, and then I didn't play again until like I was in 10th grade. So like my mechanics was like totally off. I was athletic, but football is one of those things you got to get used to technique. And once you get your technique together, you'll get better and better. My first year, my technique was just terrible. I just didn't know what to do. And a lot of my problem was, the low man wins. And I mean, that first year, man, I just got my tail whooped. I mean, every day, because like I was a 10th grader, but I got moved up to the varsity team, and the guys, they were a lot more experienced, and I was tall, but I wasn't really big, and I was going against guys who was a lot bigger than me or whatever, and they just had been playing longer than me. And I just got my tail whooped, man, every day at practice, man. I hated to go in practice. And then it was just one day, but I just kept on coming home. My dad would ask me, he's like, do you want to keep on going back or do you want to quit? And I was like, no, I don't want to quit. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to keep on going. And then one day, I don't know, somebody had said something and it just like lit a fire under me. And I just went out there and just ripped it up that day and just didn't care anymore. And, from that day forward, I just won't gonna take it no more. But the thing is like, I went from failing every day to getting that taste of success. And once I got that taste of success, there was no looking back. I mean, it was no looking back at all. And, I thank God for those experiences, because it really does. It shapes you and it makes you the man that you become. It made me the man who I am today. And I think about it, it's like I gained strength in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And see, the thing about it is like I gained strength from failing, but if I had came into the door succeeding, I wouldn't have gotten that. I wouldn't have gotten stronger by just succeeding. I wouldn't have gotten stronger by just winning all the time. I had to lose. I had to get to my lowest point to become a better player. And once I became a better player, it was no looking back. I have no regrets from anything that I did back then, because those hard times were what made me. It built me into the player that I became. So I just love that. Even that's how life is. Like, even in your darkest moments, even in your lowest points, it's like you can always gain something from it. And I started thinking about repetition. That's all it is. You're doing the same thing. The thing that you know that is right to do, you just continue that process, continue doing that thing, and you get better and better. Then I start thinking about repetition and taking reps when it comes to weight training. Anybody that's been in weight training before, in my personal opinion, I've had my most gains when the weight had came down and I focused on repetition. But when the weight goes up, you're trying to lift I don't know, 400 pounds or whatever, and you can only do it once or twice, you're not going to get the gains. Yeah, it feels good to say, oh, I lifted all this weight, but you're not getting the gains. You're better off doing 250 and be able to get 20 reps in because you're working those muscles that you're not used to working. And see, those muscles of success you're not used to working when you're failing all the time. But when you get that taste of success, you're working those new muscles of success. And I mean, from there, I mean, it's a skyrocket. It's a skyrocket up. And I just think, like, from a parent point of view, it's like, I don't ever want to fail in front of Jonah. And I know it's almost impossible. He might not look at it as failure, but we fail all the time. We don't get to do things that we want to do all the time. But it's not a failure unless you quit and don't keep trying. And
so, okay, hold on. Let me ask you this. So why did you say, I want to dig into this a little bit more. Why did you say you don't want to fail in front of him? Why did you say that?
Because I just feel like it disappoints him. I don't want to look like a loser in front of him. But what I was going to say is our kids grow from that. When they can see us fail and then they see us come back up, or they see us keep trying, that teaches them what to do. So if Jonah always sees me win, then he might not have anything to learn from. So I was talking to a husband and a wife, and they were talking about getting in investments, and they tried everything under the sun. And for years, they've always tried the next thing or tried the next thing. And they never got discouraged. Even though these businesses or whatever just fell flat on their face, they never quit. They're always open to new ideas. They're always open to get into new ventures. And I told them, and they haven't gotten to that point yet, but I told them, I said, y'all gonna be millionaires. Y'all gonna be millionaires because of the simple fact that y'all will not give up on your dream. You will not quit on your dream. Because eventually they gonna get something that's gonna hit. Because they're never going to be discouraged and just give up and say, no, I'm not gonna start any more new businesses. They probably started about 3 or 4 thus far. And they got about 2 more that they're thinking about doing now. And I said, it's going to happen. It's going to happen because you do not quit. And I feel like that's just how we have to be. And especially as fathers and being the leaders in our household, we have to feel like that. We have to, if we have goals, we have to be relentless with achieving those goals. We can't get sidetracked and pushed back and pushed down because of small failures. And I know it's a fear for me to fail in front of my son, but I can't let that fear of failure hold me back. I got to keep pushing forward. I got to keep striving to get to those goals and get to those achievements that I want to get to. But I just feel like our kids need to see that consistency in us. And me and you've talked about failures and stuff recently and feeling down about things or whatever. And the main thing we would say is we have to stay consistent. No matter what it looks like, no matter how you feel, you can't quit. You have to stay consistent, because one thing about it, it's not just you depending on yourself. You got other people depending on you. And if you quit, then you stopping their dream. You stopping them from doing what they want to do. It's not about yourself. And that's why I feel like the team sports are so, going back to, what I talked about in high school, that's why team sports are so important. Now, I love basketball, but from a team perspective, I learned the most in football. Because football, it takes every person. It takes every person in basketball as well, but it's a lot of individuality in basketball. It's a lot of me in basketball. But in football, the people that think it's about them, they couldn't do it. In other words, the quarterback couldn't do anything without the offensive line. So, like, those principles that I had back then is like, even when I'm on teams today and I feel like quitting or I feel like giving up, it's like, no, I can't let them down. I got to go through it with them, and we're gonna do it together, and we just got to stay consistent.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so you brought up a lot of different things, and I wanted to ask you about how you felt about failing in front of your son. To me, there's a difference between failing and being a failure, right? So I look at those as being things, and I think there shouldn't be any shame in failing in front of your kids. It's making a mistake. It's all those things, because we're all trying, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you were spot on when you said it. It gives him the opportunity, if you did fail in front of him, to say, okay, this is how dad bounces back. And I think that's the more important thing, because if all you're used to doing is, everything you do, you win, or everything you do, you turn the goal. I mean, that's great. It feels good, to always win. But I'm going to tell you, there's certain lessons you learn when you don't succeed that first time. There's certain lessons that you learn that help you, to help mold you into who you are when you do take a L. Okay. I mean, you think about, I think about, you talk about sports teams and all that stuff. I mean, the Patriots that year when they went undefeated,
Mm-hmm.
they was smacking everybody, right? Randy Moss was, was stretching the field. He set the record for touchdowns that year.
The GOAT.
And all that. What?
The GOAT.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Tom Brady. Yeah. So, but then what happened? They got down to the end at the Super Bowl and they lost. Okay. Now, could they have, would it have done them better if they had lost a couple games? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But at the same time, you learn so much from a loss, from taking an L. If that business venture just didn't quite work out, I guarantee you learn from it and you get better and you don't make that same mistake twice, the next time. And I like what you said too about, the couple that you were talking to, as far as, their persistence and their, that don't quit attitude. And to me, it is an attitude of never quitting. And if you got someone who's like that, yeah, they are going to be successful, because they're going to keep on trying. They're going to keep on trying. They're going to keep on until they do make it. And I think it's so important that we try to teach our kids that, because not everything is going to be easy. Not everything that happens to you is going to be a great experience, right? But it is great that you learn from it so that you get better. Yep. So that you do better the next time, so that you do succeed the next time, because success, is, we all want it. We all want to be successful, yeah. Right? something that you got to have on the inside, and you got to try to instill it in your kids to keep trying. I mean, in boxing, somebody off, okay? Or are you just gonna fold up, or are you gonna keep on going? So that's what I say to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like, you know, we just have to, consistency. And like you said, in boxing, man, it's like you got to stay the course. You have to stay the course. And I feel like a lot of things that we are into right now, we have to stay the course. I mean, you just, it's like you have to, and I talked about on other podcasts that, you know, research was so important to me. I feel like you need to learn your craft. And like I said, with our kids, it's like tell them to do their homework before getting into something. You know what you're doing. You said on the last podcast, count up the cost, you know, on what you're going to do. And then once you get into it, stay consistent, be persistent, and don't quit. You have to have the right attitude. And when you're trying to develop the right attitude, you got to have the right kind of people around you. If you got a bunch of quitters around you, you got a bunch of people that haven't accomplished anything or can't see anything further than their nose in front of them, you can't get advice from them. You can't let them alter your decisions. You can't let them discourage you. You know what you got. You know, you've done the research. You know what you got to do to be successful. And that's what you got to tell their kids. Right. Because when our kids get out there, man, it's crazy. I was looking at a documentary of The Ultimate Warrior, the biography. I think it was on A&E. You remember the Ultimate
Wrestler?
Wrestler, yeah. And he grew up, I think his dad had left him, and I think his mom was raising him as a single mother. He was in a small town in Indiana, and he wanted to be famous. He always had a chip on his shoulder, like he felt like a second-class citizen in his hometown. And he said, y'all gonna remember me. You know, he had that attitude. And he had got a desire to be, you know, famous like most kids, like a lot of kids do. And he wanted to be a bodybuilder because he got inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which was one of the biggest movie stars back then. And he went and he said he talked to his teacher or his guidance counselor one. And he told her about his dreams and what he wanted to do. She told him, and he said it on a documentary, she said, put that away. She said, I'm going to tell you what you need to do. Put all that silly stuff away. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. And he was going into his senior year. She said, this summer, you need to go to the factory, work a little bit this summer, and then go back to school. You got your work experience now. She said, go back to school, graduate. Once you graduate, then try and get a job at the factory. That's what you need to do. And I said, how many, and no, that's no shot against the teachers. I've worked in education for several years. There's a lot of good teachers out there. And that lady, she probably was telling him what she knew. That was what she knew. That's what success was to her.
Right.
But imagine if he had to just sat there and just listened to her. And didn't, he had done the research. He had looked at all the magazines. He knew what to do. He felt like he could do it. And then this person tells you that you can't do it. Or tells you that that's just silly. He would have never gotten to the heights that he got. He would have never been in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He never would have been world champion. He never would have beat Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan was the hottest thing out back then. He would have never got to those lengths. He would have never got to those heights if he had sat there and just listened and did the logical thing. The logical thing is not always the right thing. Sometimes you got to do things outside the box if you want to be different.
Yeah.
Like Dame Dash said, everybody want to be a circle and a square. That might not be your shape. Do something different. You know? So I don't know, stuff like that bothers me.
And then sometimes too, yeah. Yeah, you know, it's so messed up that, you know, this particular that's the advice that she gets. And how many other times has that happened where a teacher or someone of influence has basically crushed someone's dreams just because they didn't see it, because you couldn't see the success or you don't see the value in it. And then you just kind of crush someone's dream and try to put them on a different path, the path that you think is better. And that's kind of messed up. But one of the things I would also say is that and I've heard people say it like this. Sometimes a letdown, aka a failure, can be a setup, for bigger and better things. And a lot of times, setups. I mean, letdowns happen to us as fathers. So if you're a father out there and you got a letdown because of some bad decision you made, or you got a letdown based on, you lost your job or some bad news or a bad break or tough break or some type of diagnosis of something, I'm telling you, keep going, keep persevering, keep trying, keep that same tenacious attitude of don't quit, because your kids are watching. And we say it all the time, you're a teacher of your kids. And what are you teaching them? You teaching them to fold and throw your hands up in the air and say, woe is me, or you're going to teach them get back in the game and succeed and keep trying so you eventually overcome.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm dealing with some things now that, I've failed at, but like I said, you can't look at yourself as a failure. And like you said, it's kind of like a blessing. And it kind of makes me think, okay, well, if this is not working out like I want it to work out, then maybe this door over here is where I really need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you got to take, where it may be a failure or it may be something that may be inconvenient to you or something that's not really working out in your favor, and look at it as a positive that this may be something, maybe this might be telling me that I need to do something else or go into a different venture or go into another avenue, So I just say, and I know people say it all the time, but when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Yeah.
That's right. That's the way to do it.
Yep. Or when life gives you a lemon, then take the seed from the lemon, plant it in the ground, and get a lemon tree, and then sell the rest of the lemons.
Yeah, that too.
So I mean, we
Whatever
gotta think outside the box, and like I said in the last episode, we gotta teach our kids how to think outside the box. If this is not working, stop trying to make it work. Look at what other options do you have. Look at what other skills do you have. Go from that. Take that on.
Yeah.
Got anything else on the topic?
No, not right now.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next segment of the podcast, and it's the Ask the Dads segment of the podcast. And on today, we're going to be talking about Mario E. If you have 30 days of no internet, no social media, I guess no email either, just no internet at all, how would you, as the father of your household, how would you go about that?
Wow.
Now we lived in a time that it was no internet.
So, oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so I'll say this first. You know, it's so much that goes on or whatever, and you know, you see people glued to their phones and stuff, and so I this this particular question, you know, and I'll just kind of tell you how it started. It got inspired to me from the discussion I was having with a coworker, and they were kind of saying, you know, hey, you know, what would we do if something were to happen where the infrastructure were to go down, and what would we do for 30 days with no internet, no cell phone, no iPads, iPods, and all these different types of things? What would we do as a society? And I sit there and I contemplated that, you know, what would we do? Because we've been so dependent on, you know, electronics for so many years now. I can't even remember. I can't remember, but it seems like it's so long that, you know, the internet has been so much of a part of our lives that, you know, it's almost to the point where like you can't live without it, right?
Yeah.
But you know, one of the things I would say that if that were to happen, I think for my family and I, uh, you know, we try to spend some time together anyway. We try to spend a lot of time together, doing different things. I think it would be definitely more of that. Uh, uh, Probably having dinner all together at one time, you know, at the table, not just, you know, you cook the food and everybody kind of, you know, does their own thing, because that tends to happen sometimes in our house.
Oh yeah.
I think that would happen more. I think we would probably have more, uh, uh, more guided. Well, I'm not gonna say guided, but more critical conversations. You know, instead of it just happening organically, it will probably have to be, you know, like almost all day. You know what I mean? So I think that would be something good. You know, I definitely have more time to read and do those types of things. But I think it would definitely be something for families to kind of grow and get closer together again. Because I think, you know, a lot of times in families that's missing, because
Yeah.
we're all glued to whether TikTok or, you know, Facebook or Snapchat or Twitter or whatever the case may be. We're so caught up in YouTube and all these different things. And I'm not poo-pooing any of those things, because, you know, they all serve their purpose and they have their place. But maybe sometimes it's too much of that. There's an imbalance there, I'd say. And we probably need to have more family time. And you just have to, and without that, you wouldn't have to look for opportunities to create it. It would just automatically happen as it used to, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 30 days with all that stuff. I think some families, they would probably be pulling their hair out after an hour. Others,
Yeah.
you know, maybe after a week. But I think overall, I think society may get closer and get better, you know, for some of these families, you know, and that would be, you know, a good thing. It's probably not a bad idea to uh, try that. You know, I know I haven't seen the documentary, The Social Dilemma. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay. I haven't seen it, but I've seen parts of it, and I want to go back and finish it. But I saw that there was a clip in there where the mother and the father, they wanted to do that type of experiment, and they put their phones. It was the mother and the father, and then it was the three kids, and they put their phones in like one of these containers to where you had to have a timer to open it. Like it would shut it would the container would not open again until like 24 hours later, whatever you set the time to. And it was plastic though. And I saw the clip where this little girl, the youngest daughter, she basically took like a hammer and busted it open after like 10 minutes because she couldn't live without her phone. And, you know, we look at that and we say, wow, that's terrible. You know, how dare that? But that's what some of these kids are going through now, because they live on their phones. Everything is on their phones, and it's I don't know. It's unfortunate. We probably need to figure out ways to get our families back for sure.
Yeah.
I think.
It brings my
What do you
mind.
think? What would you do?
It brings my mind back to me and you, we talked about dieting and eating right, and we both talked about the benefits of losing weight and exercising. And we talk about how when you're eating cleaner foods, you feel better. And that's kind of what I think about when I'm thinking about this. And in a way, when you're eating that food, you're detoxing, right? But like, do we need a detox from social media, the internet? You know, and I thought about that. And honestly, it's me, my wife, and my son here at the house. But every so often, Jonah will get on his iPad and he will just want to watch it all the time. And it gets to a point where it's like he becomes zombie baby. And it's like, I have to take it away from him. You know what I'm saying? And lock it up. And I do it for days where he won't be able to get on it. And like now, he's either watching TV or he's like playing with his toys or he's kind of doing both. And like now that I've been home, for most of the summer or whatever, especially this last week, I can tell like he really hasn't watched his iPad much at all. It's really been playing with the toys and stuff like that. And I think that type of behavior is better than being on the iPad. I'm just gonna be honest. Like it's good for them going. They have educational things on there sometimes, but our kids need that real playtime. They need that social interaction with people, not necessarily social media interaction. And I've done it before myself with just taking a break from social media. Can't do it as much anymore. With the podcast and stuff, we try and keep everything up to date, try and keep content out there for everybody to view and listen to. So I'm not able to do it like I used to, but I used to get to a point, man, where I just needed a break.
Right.
I would just delete the apps from my phone because, and I don't have anything against it, but it can be poison to your mind as a person when you're constantly looking at what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is talking about. And I'm telling you, that stuff that people are showing on social media, man, it is just, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not real life stuff. I mean, people on there, a lot of people act like they're happy, and I'm like, you're not happy. When you see them in person and you have a real conversation with them, they're not happy.
Yeah.
But on social media, that's the thing, is to show everybody that I'm happy. And made me think about a comment or look like a verse that Kanye said, and he said the highest people up got the lowest self-esteem. And that stuck with me for so long, even to this day. That verse that he said, it just stuck to me because it's like, really, the higher people are up, sometimes the more followers they get and the more likes they get on social media, the lonelier they feel.
Yeah.
So I definitely, could we do it? Yeah, I think we could. Would it be a little bit harder not being able to look at your email, not being able to just see what's going on social media, not being able to necessarily text friends, just communicate through land phones and stuff like that? I think it would be an adjustment. If we had to go back, I think we could. But our kids, I think they're the ones that's in danger when it comes to this because they have, and it's like it's becoming an addiction in a lot of ways. But I can identify with it. Jonah's watching his iPad and he's watched it too much. I just take it away, and now he's not like dependent on it. If I definitely had a 30-day shutdown or something, I mean, we'd probably be outside all the time.
Yep.
He would go to his friend's house more, and we try and do that anyway, because I know what going outside as a child did for me. So, we try and take him out. We try and take him to the pool. We try and go out riding. Just don't want him to be stuck in the house. And, like we talked about before in the last podcast, him being a well-rounded kid. I want him to be able to experience outside. I want him to be able to go to the creek, and we used to go catch crayfish, man. That's what we used to do.
Yeah.
And just have fun. I mean, it's a lot of nature offers a lot of good things for our kids that sadly enough kids are not getting today. And with the pandemic last year, I can tell from the kids that I've known, it's changed them so much. Not being able to have that face-to-face interaction, even the simple thing of touch and shaking somebody's hand, we're not able to do that anymore. And I think even from a health standpoint, it's hurt our kids. Kids have gained, you can see it. Kids have gained so much weight over the pandemic. And sadly, it's going to be hard for kids that have gained a substantial amount of weight over that last year. They may not, unless they get serious and focus on it, they probably won't lose that weight back and get back to the size that they were at. And I'm just concerned about the long-term health concerns for our kids starting off this early in life so unhealthy. So I know that's a lot, but that's just how my thought process went with it.
Yeah. It's we're in uncharted territory because this new age of social media and electronics, to the point where all these different things you can do. Our parents, and their parents, they didn't have those type of technological advances that we've had. And so we're trying to raise children in an era where all of this is also new to us, and so it's so difficult, when you have adults that are addicted to their phones and addicted to their iPads and addicted to, how many likes they have on Instagram. And then they're raising kids to do the same thing, to have the same things. And so it's uncharted territory, man. It's times were much simpler once upon a time, right? But things aren't necessarily like that now. And yeah, it is good. I've done social media types of like kind of getting away from it for like a week or so. I've definitely done that, but I have never done my phone for a week,
Yeah.
So, cause that would be, could we do it? Sure. It'll go back to how things used to be, but it's pretty difficult, I'd say, even for me to, unplug altogether for a week, but
yeah, because that's the source
what you said about your son.
It's the source of contact.
And so what you said about your son is, yeah, it is. It is. And I can relate so much to what you were saying about Jonah, and being on the iPad and all that stuff. I've definitely seen it with my kids as well, because it offers so much entertainment. And sometimes, unfortunately for parents, it can be a babysitter, to be honest and say it. It can be a babysitter. You know, if it's in the middle of the day and you just don't feel like dealing, you can say, hey, take that iPad. You go over there and, you know, you put the little checks and balances on there so they not getting in anything crazy, but, you know, let them be on YouTube Kids or something like that. And sometimes you let it be a babysitter to you. And that's not good though. You know, I think all parents have been guilty of that. But like I said, we're in uncharted territory right now. And hopefully, you know, this is the whole purpose of why we wanted to have, you know, the Dad Rules podcast, to be able to help people. And, you know, hopefully we can all help each other with this, because it's definitely a thing, you know, where kids now are getting exposed to certain things. I mean, kids now, you think about it, I'm gonna go there, but it used to be that with pornography, you had one way to get pornography. That was through a dirty magazine, you know, that you had to go buy at a store, you know, and that's how you got it, right? Then it became, you know, on video or whatever and stuff like that, DVD. Now you have access to pornography on your phone.
Yeah.
And that is so easily accessible, and everybody's phones nowadays got passwords on it, and you just have to be careful, you know, with your kids.
You definitely do.
You know, telling them what's right, what you shouldn't be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and they have access to that now. Yeah. You know, they have access to that, and you have to definitely put it to them what's the right thing to do, what's not the right thing to do. And, you know, and just lead and guide them, and, you know, definitely monitor what they are on, what sites they're on, and what things they're getting exposed to.
And it used to be channels.
And so
it used to be channels that you could trust. But now you might have your child watching Nickelodeon and they are sending the wrong message to your kids through the TV shows they might watch. Or, I mean, you just don't know. You don't know, because there's a lot of messages.
Yeah, they slip adult jokes in in those kids shows now.
Yeah.
If you notice it, if you've ever watched, I'm not gonna call some of them by name, but if you watch some of these kids shows, they slip adult jokes in there.
Yeah.
You know, some of them are inappropriate. Some of them are kind of borderline. Some of them are just ha, you know, because they know the parents are watching, and, you know, they got to make the parents laugh every now and again. But sometimes you have to be careful, because they're slipping adult jokes in these kids shows, adult content in kids shows. So you have to be careful.
And they're trying to persuade them in their thinking, how they want them to think, and not. And a lot of times that's not aligned on how you're raising them and what your thoughts and your morality. It doesn't line up with your beliefs and your morality. So yes, it's definitely something that we have to monitor. I definitely would not. Well, I don't let Jonah just sit there and just watch stuff for hours and I don't know what's going on. Like, you have to. And you definitely have to cut down the amount of time that they're watching it. You're like, hey, man, you need to, go do something else. You know, like right now, you probably can hear he playing drums right now. So, like, that stuff makes me feel good. It's like, okay, your TV may be on, but you're not just sitting there. You're doing other stuff, you know, so you know, that's good. But do you have anything else on the topic?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you guys for listening. It's Mario E and Kid. We're signing out.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your hosts, Mario E and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.